Hey, you've summoned a lesser maker. Today we're building this in 12 hours.
To give myself a head start on this project, I'm going to cut this out on my Longer Ray 510W laser cutter that was provided to me by zbanks.com. There's a link and a coupon code that you can find in the pinned comment or the description if you're interested in this machine by the end of this episode. The files that I'm using on this machine are available on Patreon for free, and a PDF version that you can print out and cut out yourself is also available on Patreon for free.
All right, so I got all this stuff cut out. It only took like 30 minutes to get all this stuff going. And this stuff just fell right out. But for the foam core, I really dialed in the setting. I can get used to this. This is pretty cool.
You can see here that I had the machine carve in some brick textures on the lower floor. And this is a detail that I always want to put in my 2-story buildings, but it is a lot of work, and so I typically omit the detail. But because a machine is doing it for me, I just went ahead and did it myself. The EVA foam, I don't have the setting down quite right, so I had to finish off the cut by hand. A lot of it I could just tear by hand and it didn't need trimming, but all the guts in the middle definitely needed to get cut out by the X-Acto knife, and that was unfortunate, and I'm definitely going to be learning my lesson to make sure that I have the machine just go over the cut again while it's already there. But as soon as you move the material, there's no chance you're going to be able to have that cut in the exact same spot again. So sometimes you have to learn this lesson the hard way, and this was a lot of extra work that could have been avoided. It took about an hour to weed all this stuff out. So, lesson learned. It's time to move on. Okay, so to apply the EVA craft foam to the foam core, I just brushed some Eileen's tacky glue from a container onto the EVA foam and just stuck it right on. This was a really great bond because it was almost semi-reversible. I was able to peel it off and reveal the layer underneath. And when I destroyed the building later, this was kind of a benefit. So something to keep in mind. I'm also texturing all the foam before I layer this on. And especially for the bricks, it kind of separates the bricks a bit more. And then for any blank space, it's not going to be blank anymore. There's going to be a texture for the washes and stuff, the paint to kind of pool. And it ended up looking really great because later I'm going to be sponging on the paint. And the sponging is only going to get the raised details and it automatically will feather in all those bumps and ridges and stuff. So it's a nice time saver. Speaking of time savers, having the extra side container for the Eileen's tacky glue saved me so much time. That was a suggestion from a viewer, so I just wanted to thank them. And you saved me so many times trying to shake that bottle and get a little bit of glue out. This was really nice. So if you haven't done this already, I recommend it. I went ahead and glued everything together before I put in the windows because I actually made my own STLs. My patrons have early access to these, and I'm going to be cutting out the windows to fit those STLs pretty soon. These STLs looked really great. I designed these myself, like I said, but I'm not like a 3D artist by any means, and we're going to be releasing these for free pretty soon. But if you want early access to these as we're developing STL packs, it's only $2 a month, and it goes a long way to support the YouTube channel and make these weekly videos. If not, just subscribe and these files will become free pretty soon. I'm test printing every single file before I release them, and I have to upscale some files, but we're in the final stages of getting this thing approved, so should be good. Because the top layer has a texture with the EVA foam, I am cutting every wall at a 45-degree angle and gluing them together, rather than having them just butt up against each other, because that EVA foam needs to join in the middle and make it look like it's an actual beam. Sometimes that cut will be a little wavy, and I just kind of went with it because it's a ruined building. There's no way to actually ruin it. I just made sure that the foam was pressed up against each other real tightly while it was cooling, and that way if there was a wave in the cut, the building would wave a bit. Rather than just kind of trying to hide that crime, I'm owning that crime and making sure that kind of stays as a feature. Okay, so now I have these two pieces and I kind of just put them together and see which way kind of oriented better. And I'm gonna put in some floors on the second level, and I decided to add an attic on the as a third level. I like to line up all my coffee stir sticks into a line and then glue them together, and that usually leaves a pretty good bond. Then I can just glue it straight onto it as a unit rather than gluing each stick individually like I have done before. It's just a nice time-saving trick. It's a lot less fiddly, and you can just get it done real quick. I added some supports for a different roof on the right side. The planks went a little long on one of the sides, and I just left it there, and now it's just a walkway. And sometimes with the speed build, you just kind of have to let things go. And this was one of those things I thought looked really great, so I just kind of went with it. And letting the material and the build kind of improvise with you. It's good to roll with the punches, and this was one of those punches I was just like, yeah, that's perfect. So I cut a little hole on the side, and I let the building kind of inform where some of the damage would be, because this looked like it would be a porch, and there wasn't a door here, but there is now. Wherever I put some damage near the windows, I just tore them out and I'll use them again later. Those were pretty big prints, and I'll just save them for later. And I just went to town making sure that there was enough room for my hand to fit in, and I really tried to visualize where a model would want to go, and where if there isn't an exit, where a person would improvise one and kind of push out the sides of a building so that they can move through to the next one or whatever. So I've been trying to make my buildings and my terrain more playable, and that's been something that's been difficult for me to learn. I'm more of a D&D player, not like a strategist, so I think that kind of shows in some of my Mordheim terrain builds, and I'm trying to change that and get better with each build that I do now. And I don't know, it's a learning experience, but it's a fun learning experience. I do think I see improvement in my stuff, and having a tool that makes this easy, like the laser cutter, it definitely lets me have time to experiment with this stuff rather than frantically getting a building done in a week's time. So it's nice to have some time-saving tools so I can take time and put in details that I like. I grabbed some plastic packaging for the roof because shingles are just always time-consuming, and I always like to use some metal roofs in my Mordheim builds. I was able to bend this plastic back and make it look like it was peeled back by some war bands, and I'm using plastic straws. I cut them in half for some gutters, and I just followed the line on the straw and cut it straight in half. I glued it on, and then I used the bendy part of the straw to make an improvised gutter system, and this looks really great. If you've never tried this before, I recommend it. I made this up last year, and it's something I really like. I put in some ladders because I didn't have room for stairs, and that turned out really good. Here's another building accessory from the STL kit. It's a hanging sign, and then I just went out and primed it. I primed my building with a tan, and that just gives me a head start for all the stucco colors. I base coated all the metal materials with a green because I want all those to be an oxidized brass. I had to reinforce this window because I didn't glue it quite well enough with the hot glue. And then I went ahead and base coated all the pipes and gutter systems with a green, as well as the windows. And everything like that is going to have a brass dry brush later. I mixed my own stucco tan color, and I stippled that onto the lower half of all the stucco panels. And that was just like a shading that I thought might look really cool. It kind of got covered up, but it was an extra layer that I think ended up looking good in the end. I went over all the wood with a brown, and a lot of this is going to get covered up with the next base coat, but it's going to be the foundation that all this will be built on after I put on a wash. And that wash is really going to muddy everything down, but I think it ended up making things look pretty cool. You'll see where I'm getting at.
All right, so I put a wash inside a spray bottle and I sprayed the building all over. I'm gonna try to do kind of a version of this house. This is one of my favorite houses that I've painted. Surprisingly pretty simple. So I'm gonna sponge on some white paint over the wash and stuff, and hopefully all those layers combined will make it look kind of interesting.
So I sponged on white paint. I mixed in a bit of green into this because I figured the roof would be oxidizing into the white. I don't think it shows off so much on camera, but it is there just a little bit. I tried to go with each floor having a gradient from the brightest white to the brown base coat, and it didn't go exactly as planned, but the brown base coat should stick through the white pretty good, and it kind of looks like an old barn, which wasn't exactly what I was going for, as you could see from what I was pointing at earlier, but it looks really great, and I couldn't argue with it at all. Considering this was a speed build, it added so much texture and life to it that I don't think I've ever added in a paint job before. So it's something I really enjoyed, and hopefully you guys like it too. Real quick, I'm gonna thank my Patreon members: Leroy, Moonbad, Fetter, Caracal, Old School FRP, Burning Heart Custom Creations, Jared, James, and Anders. Thank you guys so much. Your input has really helped make the new STL pack a lot better. All right, have a good one.